sun, working from sun to sun. Spend my money when the work is done.
Oh, my name is Virgil Brown. I was born in Lebanon, Oregon. I'm 80 years old.
All right. Wait a minute.
81 years old. I forgot about that first year. I couldn't remember it. My mother's name was Mabel House. My father's name was Blair Brown. I had 5 siblings and 4 stepbrothers and sisters. No, there was 5 stepbrothers and sisters. I grew up on the Mount Hope Road just out of Lebanon. It was sort of my road. No, we didn't have much property. We had about 7 acres to begin with. And it was a fairly big, there was 5 bedrooms in the house. Well, we had water indoors. We had a privy out back. And later in the 1940s, we got indoor plumbing.
What?
Yeah, in the 40s.
No.
46.
Grandpa had an outhouse when I was a kid.
Well, it still had the outhouse, but
Was he had a bathtub, you mean?
yeah,
He had a
they,
toilet.
no. I don't ever remember using the indoor plumbing, but I know we had it. We mostly used the outdoor because it was more convenient. Oh, we had a 1-room school. It was just across the road from our house. The building's still there. It's some people live in it now. But we had one. I don't know. It was 8 grades in the school. You had one teacher.
How many students?
Oh God, I don't know. There was probably 25, maybe. I have no idea how many students there was. I got a picture here. We could count some of them. Well, everybody was your friend, unless they were your enemy. Well, we had fights, but we wasn't enemies. We had softball. We played softball in the spring, and we had a team, and we would play other schools, but nothing organized. We was sort of our own coaches. I grew up herding cows up and down the Mount Hope Road.
What about logging?
Logging? Oh, well, I didn't get in that until later years. I was 12 years old when I started working in the woods.
12 years old.
Mother was kind of loose ends. She worked as housekeeper mostly. I can remember, I can't hardly remember my grandfather, but he was a cook at the Lebanon Hotel. And my mother did laundry at the hotel. They had a big back room there where they had lines, and she did the laundry and hung it out there to dry. And they ironed everything then. They ironed all the sheets and pillowcases and stuff. And I can remember us kids playing there in the back room.
What about your father? What did he do?
Well, he he had a truck that he was kind of in the trucking business, and that's where he earned the most of his money. He hauled before the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. They hauled scrap iron to Portland and sold it to the Japs. And he made a trip about every week to Portland. It was a 2-ton truck, and he could haul about 5 ton on it, I think. But he went around to the different farmers. Horses was kind of going out, and the tractors were coming in, and he'd buy machinery from the different farms, and we'd bring it home there and take it apart, and us kids would take the bearings. They all had they had bronze bushings instead of bearings, and we took them apart and take the bronze out, or any brass or anything. We'd separate all that, and he had different places he sold the brass and stuff. And then he bought some old cars and stuff, and we'd tear them down, wreck them, and take the motors all apart, and most of them had Babbitt bearings then. I don't know, Babbitt's a soft metal, like it's lead and something else. I don't know what it's made out of, but anyway, we'd take them wrist pins and stuff and take them all apart, and we had a deal there. We melted that out of them, and we caught it in muffin tins and made little wafers of that. And
How did you melt it?
huh?
How did you melt it? With a campfire?
Oh yeah, we had a fire under it, and it would melt. It would melt, but pretty low temperature. I don't know. That we had an old hood off in an old tractor that we had it up on rocks, and it was kind of tipped at one end, and it'd go down there, and we had them muffin tins there. We caught the Babbitt as it come out, and it cooled rather quickly, and we'd dump it out, and when it got real cool, then we put it in I think we put it in 50-pound gunny sacks, just little sacks. Didn't take too much to make 50 pounds, and they hauled that on the truck. And when he got to Portland, he had one place he sold at, and some place we sold the other. And I don't know what he got for how much he made, but I think he made about $25 for that trip to Portland, and that was enough to buy groceries for the week. And he usually, when he went to Portland, he picked up a load of feed for Kate Farms out there, that was a feed company outside of Lebanon, and I think he got $5 to bring that load of feed back from Portland to Lebanon, and it was all in bags. Nothing was ever in bulk, but I can remember in the summertime, in the fall, there was a lot of turkeys in the valley then. Every farmer had 50 or 60 turkeys that he raised and fattened. They fattened them on wheat, and we'd go over to outside of between Redmond and Powell Butte there somewhere, and them farmers had thrashed their wheat, and it was all put in bags, of pretty near 100-pound bags. But I can remember getting up real early in the morning. We'd go downtown, have breakfast at the restaurant, and then we drove over the mountain. It was an all-day trip, go over there and back. And I talked to...
All of you in a cab of a truck?
Huh?
All of you in the cab of the truck?
Oh, no, there just one of us was a good go.
Oh, only
He always took one with us because he had to load that by hand in the field, and he'd throw the sacks up there, and we'd drag him back. I was big enough to drag him back out of the way, and when he got to where he couldn't get any up there, then he got up there and stacked it. It took all day. And Bob Kate told me that he was looking through some old records there at the granary where he got $35 to make that trip. All day job. Oh, I met her. Oh, God, when did we meet? She was, I think she was in the 7th grade. And I was in the 8th grade. And she was going to school in town. She was raised up around Providence Church. And Providence Church school either burnt down or for some reason they closed it. And then rather than build a new church, they paid tuition and they picked the kids up and hauled them into Lebanon to go to school from Providence. And she was was you in the 7th grade? You might have been in the 8th grade. He was in the 7th grade, I think. And they had a picnic for us country kids down there so we could get ready to go to high school next year. And she happened to be in the line where we was going to get our food, and she was with some girlfriend, and they were pretty flirty. Well, they were. Anyway, that's where I met her.
So she talked to you first?
I think she must have, because I would have been afraid to talk to her. I was just a country boy. Well, we never really dated, I don't think. If I wanted to take her to a show or something, I went down to see if she's ready to go. And she was always ready to go. We didn't go out on hot dates like you kids do now. Or we go to the movie show. Or we might go down to the bowling alley and have a hamburger. But then I was working the summertime. I worked in the woods. And, I must have been making big bucks, I think about $5 a day. But I'd save enough money so I didn't hardly run out of money before the year was over, because I didn't have any to spend. Just frivolously. I lived with my dad until I was 20 years old. Then I went into service. 18 months, I think.
18 months?
Well, we was drafted for 2 years. I went through training at Camp Cook down in California, and then we shipped out to Korea. When I got to Korea, well, my training down there, my basic training, it was infantry training. And when I got to Korea, they needed some cat operators and truck drivers and stuff. and run CAT as a civilian, and they took me as a CAT operator. I was kind of glad about that. I took machine gun training, and you saw that the combat machine gun's life was about 3 minutes.
The way you built roads and stuff, right?
Yeah, in Korea. Oh, see how long it was. It was about 11 months, I think. She wrote letters to me. I wasn't much at writing letters. Well, I got through in Korea. I got my time in there. They didn't have nothing else for me to do. So I got out some early because I had that school there, and I got points just like I was still in the line company. Yeah, I was a teacher. I showed them kids how to run tractors. It was pretty easy for me because there was 3 of us went, and it was a 6-week course, I think. Can't remember for sure. But anyway, I'd go through their records and I'd pick out all the farm boys because I knew they knew how to fuel up a tractor and keep the oil in it and stuff. And that saved me a lot of time. While I was there, it was pretty good duty because the class was 6 weeks and then it was over. And I got 2 weeks off in between. And I had a special pass. I could go anywhere in Korea I wanted to. And there wasn't, well, I could have probably got on a train or a bus, but I'd just go hitchhiking. GIs would pick you up, and you'd go in wherever they was eating lunch. You go in there and sign their roster at the kitchen, and you could eat for free. You had a sleeping bag, and at night you could throw your sleeping bag down in the motor pool or somewhere where there's an extra cot and sleep. I don't know. I kind of liked it. It wasn't too bad. I didn't draw any pay for 6 months. I left my papers with the line company. That's how I got extra rotating points, because I would have been. They would have taken some of, but if you was in a line company, you got more points. But anyway, I didn't draw pay, so I had $600 coming when I got out of the service, back pay. I come home and I bought a 1946 Chevrolet, and that took most of our money. We took a little vacation. Tad and Rita was living down at Brookings then. We drove down there and spent a couple days on the coast and then come back home. I went and found a job. We bought a place out there on Sturtevant Road from this guy we'd known for a long time. He used to run the Brewster store, 2-bedroom house for $6,000 on a big lot. $50 a month payments. Yeah, Beth and you were born while I was there. I think Steve was born after we got. Yeah, he was born because I was working over there on Roy Locks when Steve was born. I was logging on Hungry Hill Road. First, I bought this little cat from Dean Howard. I don't know why Dean Howard couldn't make the payments on it, but I think he had to go somewhere and get out of the country because he'd stole something. Anyway, I bought that little cat. Well, I don't even remember what it was. It wasn't very much, but he was logging on Druschella's place. Dwayne and Avis were pretty young then. Their kids were just little fellas. Well, their oldest ones were probably a little older than you are. Not really, about the same age. Yeah. Anyway, Druschella didn't trust me to make the payments. So Jerry James had a mill there at Crabtree where they're having a big dispute about the logs now. And I took all the logs down there and sold them, and they held Druschella's part out down there. I think we got paid every week, if I remember right. But we didn't get rich, but we made a little money. I was just about done there, and this Roy Locke lived down there not too far from the Huffman Bridge. Well, he had some logs parked out there in the field, and I stopped, and somebody had pulled them down there off in the hill. I asked him if he wanted to sell them. I'd load them out and haul them in. Yeah, he'd like to sell them. He says, there's some more up on the hill. I went up there, and he had quite a few logs. And I don't know how long we was there, Mother. We was there for over a month, I think. And Lonnie was working with me. Lonnie and Randy, they come up and stayed with us. Can you remember that? Mm-hmm. They didn't have a happy home in California anyway. Yeah, it's Randy and Lonnie. But anyway, Roy Locke was a pretty good old boy. In fact, he was about to lose that farm for taxes when I went there. And after 2 weeks, he got enough money to pay the taxes off, and I was a good old boy then. And whenever I come in, he was out there with the gate open and all smiles. I think he had enough money to live there till he died. He was getting pretty old. When we got done, I don't know what we did with all our money, just blowed it, I guess. Well, we was buying that place there on Mount Hope Road. We paid that down. Then when I got done there, Archie Huffman, down there by the Huffman Bridge, he had some logs right there. He stopped and see me, wanted to know if I wanted to log them out. And they were real easy because they were right there on a little hill right alongside the field. I didn't have to move them anywhere. And I don't remember how many we took off in there, but quite a few. Then we took the little cat home when we got done there. And I rented that ball field down there where they built that. There's a trailer house and stuff in there. That was right next door. But I rented that, and I put in a grain crop there. Didn't know what we was doing, but we was working.
So when did you get married?
Well, before I went into service. I think I probably, was I 20 years old? We've lost our marriage license, so we don't know.
I think you were 20 and Mom was 17.
I think it's something like that.
You got married in 1951.
1951. And we've been we've been together most of the time, except when I was in the service. I never did work very far from home. I went to work in the woods. The first year I was home, I had 13 different jobs. I was pretty easy to quit. But there was lots of jobs then. You could quit one job and walk down the road and get another. My brother, we worked in the woods mostly in the summertime, and my brother just got out of the service, and he'd never worked in the woods.
Which brother?
Pete. And it was in the wintertime, and I'd taken a job down at the plywood mill to help them take the brick out of a digester, they called them. There was like a big silo that they put that pulp into and cooked it. And they had it lined with fire brick. and that fire brick would kind of, after so many years, well, they had to take it out and reline it. And I took a job down there running a jackhammer, taking that outside, that inside out of that dirtiest job I ever had in my life. You wasn't in there much over an hour till you was pretty black. And come home and wash it, take a bath at night, and you just couldn't get it all off. But I guess I finished that job there. They had another to do, but before I got done, I took a job up at Sweet Home for this Brady Fuel Company. They was at the San Am lumber mill. They was taking. They had a lot of scrap lumber and stuff that went up this conveyor. They had wigwam burners that went up there to be burned, but halfway up they put another deal in there. And we pick any board out of there that didn't have bark on it and throw it in this chipper. And it was kind of an ugly job. You on a slanted floor, and it was kind of hard because you had to reach way down below your feet to get every one of them boards and throw it in another conveyor that took it to the chipper. And, well, we'd worked there about 3 weeks, I think, and one night somebody had pulled out a 4x6 that was a sliver, and that chipper would only take a 4-inch board, and that thing went down in there and got hung up there, and it was kind of slivered off. So we got another 6x6, I guess it was, and kept hitting that. We'd drop that down on that thing, and it'd go about an inch every time. Took us quite a little while to beat it through there, and it was kind of a slave outfit anyway. But anyway, the next morning the boss come there. Next night, we was working nights, and he come there and giving us hell about not getting it through. And they had a lead man there that was kind of well, he was suck up to the boss. But anyway, he said our production was way down last night. You guys gotta get to going better. And I said, well, didn't that lead man tell you what happened? We got the throat of that chopper plugged up, and we took us about a half hour longer to get it unplugged. And he said, well, we've got to have more production. I said, well, we might have less tonight because me and my brother quit. Pete, when he was walking out to the car, he says, what do you mean me and my brother quit? I said, well, I've been seeing them trucks on the road. The woods are opened up and they're starting to log again. I says, I think in the morning if we just drive up to San Am logging company's yard, we can get a job. I said, you'll have to find some corks. He went and borrowed some corks from somebody in a tin hat. And next morning we had a job, but we didn't go to the same job. We went to a different side. But anyway, he learned about logging pretty quick because he went out on a side with it was the rig up side, and they was moving one of them log yarders up over the hill. That night when he come in, I said, well, how'd you make out? And he says, I don't know. I guess it was all right. He says, but when we went to work, oh, he got scalped, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, they sewed it back on.
Yeah.
But they tore quite a chunk from. It was 50 years ago in August we moved here. I didn't know anything about butchering. But I bought it from the fellow that said he'd stay a month and show me how. he stayed a couple of weeks. Then he had another job he had to go to, but anyway, we made it. Well, I really didn't have to learn too much. I knew how to work, and that's what it is, mostly work. But it's been pretty good to us. We didn't really buy too much, but I got it on a rather low down payment. I think I give about $1,000 down, and I don't remember what I paid for it. $19,000, I think. That and the butcher shop and about 18 acres of ground or something like that. This house wasn't with it then. We bought it later. We lived in a trailer house right there by the slaughterhouse, and this property and the house where Sherry's trailer is, there was a house there, but it was pretty kind of a little put together house, and it actually was 3 chicken houses that they drug down the road here and put together. And I don't know, I bought it. We'd been there for maybe 5 years when this belonged to Ward Slover.
You couldn't have been 5 years.
Couldn't have been 5
I
years.
was thinking it was only like about a year or so.
Oh, it might have been. Might not have been that long.
2 years.
The Parkers were living in this house then, and them boys were a little. Oh, they were good boys, but they would take stuff that didn't belong to them. And I don't remember what disappeared over there's in that shed, but something wasn't too important. And one of them boys was working for me then, and I told him about that disappearing. I said, I'm going to watch that, and if I catch anybody there, I'm going to shoot their ass off. And the stealing kind of stopped. But it was pretty good. We got $3 for killing the hog, and I think $5 for killing the beef, and 5 cents a pound for cutting and wrapping. And we had state meat inspection then, and I was buying some beef from a fella out here on Robinson Road for 18 cents a pound alive, and I'd sell locker meat for 45 cents cut and wrap. And there was pretty good money in it. You had to work all day, and sometimes half the night, huh?
I remember at first you guys worked late into the night.
Well, we did during hunting season. Well, maybe we did too, because it was kind of slow, you know. We didn't. But it's changed a lot. I mean, they get a lot more for work nowadays than we did then. But we managed to pay the bills, and this house come up for sale. Slover wanted to sell it. I didn't have nothing to pay down on it. I might have scraped $500 together to pay for a down payment, and then it was, I don't know what we paid a month for it, but it wasn't very much. But we finally got it paid off some way, and then I bought the rest of the there was, I think it was 130 acres I bought. It was a big place there. It was 300 and some acres, but I bought 140. Must have been more than that.
I was thinking it was 150. Is what I thought.
Yeah, it might have been. Can't remember for sure. And added it to it. It made us a lot more work, but we didn't make much more money. But there were some trees on it, and every summer we cut some trees and helped pay it down. And Sherry finally paid it off when she bought me out.
So when did you buy the? Well, I think it was 16 acres from
Nelson's?
Nelson's.
Oh, it was not too long after I bought the rest, the other piece.
Was it?
Yeah. They were they wanted to move to Eastern Oregon for some reason. But I bought that, and Willis's Cone's dad bought the rest of it. And they moved to Eastern Oregon, but I don't remember even what I paid for it. It wasn't too much, you know.
Do you remember when you bought the back 40?
The back 40, yeah. I've been here a long time by then.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking you bought the back 40 maybe even after Ben was born.
Oh, I bought the back 40 after he'd left home.
No.
Oh, no, I didn't neither.
They rode motorcycles and stuff back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. But anyway,
I think he was a little kid maybe when you bought it.
yeah. I was old enough. Steve was up working. I tried to get him to go partners with me and buy it, and he wouldn't do it because he said, well, he says, I give $38,000 for it. And
Most expensive piece of ground on the whole place.
and he said, oh, it's not worth that. He says it's just a jungle. But we bought it because I walked it and I counted all the trees, and I figured there was pretty enough trees there to pay for it. I think I'd had it for about a year before we logged it, and I got my nephews to come in and log it. I don't remember what kind of deal we had, but anyway, after they logged it and they got their share, and I had about $45,000 left over, so I paid it off. Steve had helped quite a bit, and I thought, well, he needs some, so I gave him half of it. What was left over? 50 years. You kind of grew up here. You ought to know about it. Can you remember you and Ryan fighting at the gate up there where you was feeding the hogs? Who was driving the pickup?
It was him.
I think Ben Ryan was letting Ben drive the pickup and he run the dirt because Ryan had more driving experience.
Ben, they were tiny.
They weren't very big, but I'd let Ryan drive up there several times, and he was teaching Ben. Neither one of them wanted to own up to scraping the side of that pickup. They thought Grandpa was really going to be mad. You and Ryan, I thought, God, I'm going to get them boys into butchering, but they worked at that for a little while and then they give up on it. I don't know what happened.
I remember Ben wanted to quit school in 3rd grade because he already had a job. At Slaughterhouse.
Was you that young?
Yeah.
Any words of advice? I don't know, Ben. It's a big world out there, and you got to work to get it. But if you can make it without any education or anything, you'll be all right.
Precious memories, unseen angels, sent from somewhere to my soul. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. Precious Father, loving Mother, fly across the lonely years, and old home scenes of my childhood in fond memory appear. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. In the stillness of the midnight, echoes from the past I hear. Old time singing, gladness springing from that lovely land somewhere. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold.
I wish I was a baby bear, sleeping in the brown winter grass in April while the sun was going down. I wish my shoes were empty and I was still in bed, with you there beside me, with your dreams inside your head. I wish the world would do what I wanted to, and I wish the wind would blow me back